Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us at the Harvard University Employees Credit Union orientation session. It's really great that we have you all here. Welcome to Harvard. It is a great community of learners to join. Myself and Migdalia, our other presenter on today, are also members of the Harvard University community, and we are glad that you're a part of our community here. So we're going to talk a little bit about financial independence, managing your money as a student. So starting off with just some good money tips that hopefully you can take with you into your first few weeks as a student. And first we want to get started with who we are at the credit union. We are a not-for-profit financial institution, and we exclusively serve the Harvard community. So that means all of you as students. We serve alumni, we serve faculty, staff, as well as all of the staff at the teaching hospitals that are connected to Harvard, and a few other groups as well. So please know that we are here for you to provide different services, whether that be your financial institution or your primary financial institution. We do have some accounts for college students specifically that Migdalia will speak about in just a moment. But one of the things we really want to make apparent for you all is that we are also here just as a community resource. Whether you use our financial institution services or not, we hope that you can use our services as a community resource for personal finance education and personal finance training, so that hopefully you can learn a little bit more about personal finance. Throughout the years, we'll have personal finance sessions. This year, it looks like they'll be on Zoom or GoToWebinar, but we are glad to have these resources for you, and they're provided free of charge for all of you. So please don't hesitate, even if you are not a member, you possibly may be on campus coming up soon. You're more than welcome to come by the branch, especially during those times when you possibly have questions about things that may have come up with your finances. So just some personal finance tips that we think are important as you're starting your first year of college. The first thing is going to be the 50-30-20 budget rule. You possibly have never made a budget before. I know when I was in high school, my budget was pretty much, okay, this is what I made at my job, and this is what I want to spend my money on. But for me, there wasn't a ton of saving or budgeting really going on. It was more just thinking about, okay, these are the things that I want to save, and these are the things that I would like to spend money on. So when you're thinking of budgeting and building that first budget, the first thing that we really encourage you to think about are the largest bit that you need to think about, which are essentials, your needs. When you graduate from college and go on to having your own apartment, your own place, as well as all of your meal expenses that you may not be having while you're in college. This is a really big percentage of the big piece of the puzzle, because you want to make sure that you're taken care of and having your needs met. So when you budget, this is a great way to look at it. Most of your money should be spent on things that are essential to you and to your family. And then there are 30% of wants. So 30% of your budget should be things that you'd like to spend money on. Not necessarily needs, but going out to eat, entertainment, being able to go to the movies, going to a show. Those are things that are important to build into your budget. I think sometimes when people hear budget, they automatically think of, oh, I'm making sure that I don't spend any extra money on things that I want. It's all needs or savings. And you can definitely budget that way if you would like to. But I highly recommend that you take a portion of your budget and put it towards things that are fun, things that you don't necessarily need, but that you want to spend money on. So I think as a college student, a lot of this was spent on meals outside of the dining hall, and spending some money on entertainment as well. So these are things that definitely you'd like to budget in for. Possibly you're maybe getting an on-campus job or possibly an off-campus job while you're with us at Harvard. And I really recommend put in some percentage of your budget for wants, things that you'd like to spend money on. And then we also have savings. Savings is really important because a lot of times This is the money that we can use in the future to cover those things like needs. So things like retirement savings. Once you do get that first job, you're able to start that retirement savings. And then also thinking about emergency savings. When things come up, and they will come up, it's good to be able to have that money in the bank and to be able to cover those things with money that you already have rather than having to borrow money. So that's a quick outline of a possible budget. Know that these numbers don't look like this all the time. I know for myself, when we moved to Boston, the needs category was definitely much higher than 50% because here in Boston, rent is a little bit higher than many other places in the country. So our needs went up quite a bit, whereas we weren't spending as much on our wants, but making sure to spend a little bit on savings. No goal is too small to start saving towards. And that's something that I really think is important for students to think about. You may be getting a work study paycheck, or you may be getting a job and a paycheck with that off-campus job. And so you may not be making, $1 million here in college, but you're making some money. And it's important to start saving for goals, even with that money. So the first thing is the emergency fund. Experts recommend 3 to 6 months of money saved up for essential expenses. So this could be if in a few years you need to get your car repaired, possibly something happens and you need to get that car repaired. That could definitely be a factor. So you want to make sure that you're saving up this money, like I said, so that you don't have to borrow money when really you could have been saving it all along. A great place to save this is in a savings account. So to keep that emergency fund easily accessible is very important. Spending speed bumps. So what we mean by this is set up little roadblocks for yourself towards spending. If you're more of an overspender like myself, there are ways that you can set up roadblocks so that you don't just spend money on everything, and rather you focus in on spending money on things you actually want and have planned for. So something that I do, I love online shopping. I pretty much am always looking at a good sale online, but I've never saved my credit card information into my phone, so that way, if I do want to purchase something online, I have to get up from where I'm sitting and actually go get my credit card or my debit card. And this way, I'm not just spending money on anything that I see online, but actually thinking through, okay, do I want this? And if I do want it a few days later, a few hours later, then it's possible that I'll spend that money on it. But I'm setting up that roadblock for myself. The next is to have goals. As you're starting to think about your college experience, you probably have a lot of goals for these next 4 years or possibly more. You have goals and you're thinking about academic goals, social goals. Also start thinking about financial goals. It's important that you're not just saving because you're like, oh yeah, that woman on that webinar told me to save that one time. But you have a goal that you're saving towards. Possibly that's, you know what, I want to save enough money so that next semester I can buy all of my books with my own income. That's an awesome goal to have. Start setting those goals, but don't just set them. Make sure that you name them as well. So if you do have a savings account, I encourage you, go ahead and start naming those accounts based on what you're saving for. Naming those accounts will really give you a full picture of, okay, I'm meeting this goal. It's also going to set up a little bit of a spending speed bump too when you're thinking about possibly taking money out of that savings account and putting it towards something that you might want to buy for $20. And you look back at your savings account and it says your goal on the name. So if it's textbooks for January, you may think twice about taking that money out and using it for something that maybe you don't want as much. So it's a good thing to go ahead and name those goals. The next thing to talk about is building credit and thinking about credit. This is a good time to start setting yourself up for success in the future with credit. I think college is a great time to set yourself up for success in a lot of ways, but this can really be the case when you're thinking about your credit and your credit score. So, building credit in college can help you rent an apartment in the future, buy a house or a car, and it could possibly help lower loan interest rates once you graduate, which could be a really good thing. If you're possibly taking out private student loans to come to school, you could definitely have a great credit score and possibly refinance on those once you're out of school. So keeping a good credit score is really important. One of the best ways that you can build a good credit score is if you're paying any bills in your name, maybe a cell phone bill, power bill, cable bill. Those are important things to pay on time, credit card bill even. You've got to pay these things on time because when lenders are looking at your credit, the number one thing that they look for is your payment history. So you want to make sure that your payment history is sound. That means you've paid bills on time and you've been a good person to lend money to. So pay your bills on time. The next thing to think about is using a credit card wisely if you do have one. If you do have a credit card, make sure that you're not just putting everything on there and only able to pay off a few things, because you want to make sure that you can keep up with those payments and that you're not adding additional interest onto the credit card that you might not necessarily need to pay. So try to keep 30% of your credit limit on your credit card. That's a good solid number for creditors and lenders to see. They like to see that you're using 30% or less of your credit card limit. So try to keep those numbers pretty low when you're using a credit card, especially if it has a lower limit, as many college credit cards do. Number 3, have a plan. When you're thinking about your student loans, right now, that may seem like a really far off time to have to repay those. Um, and you still have 4 years, but this is a good time to begin planning about how you can pay back your student loans, because that plan may look different based on different people. Your friends may have a different plan for how to pay this back. But sit down and think to yourself, okay, what is a point of a plan of action that I can put in place so that when my grace period is over after I graduate, I'm able to pay these student loans, or I'm able to work towards paying them. Look up what the federal government has as resources for you to pay these back. If you do have those federal student loan, there are a lot of benefits that come with that. So look those up, see how you could pay these back, and the types of jobs that you're wanting to get in the future. I want to introduce my colleague, Migdalia Gomez, who's going to take you through the rest of the presentation. But please don't hesitate to ask questions in the questions feature to the right or at the top of your screen as we go through the rest of this presentation.
Thank you, Sarah, and thank you everyone for joining us, and congrats again on starting at the college. We are so glad to just have you, even though we can't see you during these times. We are very glad that you are part of our community. Before I get into a little bit about our college life account, and just so that you have some general information, I wanted to take a moment and just point out a couple of additional things as we're talking about managing your finances. Keep in mind that now that you have that Harvard University ID, now that you are a student, there are many discounts that may be available to you. So as Sarah was talking about budgeting and the 50-30-20 rule and ways that you can reduce possible expenses that you may have that may be in the wants category, is going to your service providers, go through your expenses and contact them. Contact your cell phone company. Contact if you have a Spotify account, look onto Spotify or Netflix, whatever accounts you may have, and see if they offer college student discounts. Especially now with COVID-19, a lot of different companies are offering student discounts or COVID-19 specific discounts. We also want to let you know that when it comes to HUECU and us as a part of the Harvard community, you do not need to be a member to take advantage of all of the different personal finance workshops that we have throughout the year. We usually will have a very big one in January, which is known as our winter session, in which we talk about personal finance. We bring in experts that will talk about investing, retirement, and all of that. You'll get notifications through the college, and additionally, we'll be posting it as well through our social media channels. So now a little bit about our account, the College Life account that we have at the Harvard University Employees Credit Union. This is a checking account specifically created for you. And as you'll see here, it was created for students, fee-free, meaning that we do not charge you free. And more importantly, we also have a couple of forgiveness options. So if you accidentally overdrafted or accidentally came across some fees, we will forgive up to 3 of those specific related ones. And then there are free ATMs. With a credit union, the biggest difference between us and a for-profit institution is that we are not-for-profit. And as a not-for-profit, we're really able to give back and make sure that our products are focused on the well-being of our members, because our members are the ones that help us decide how can we best give back to our community. With our credit union, you'll be able to access us everywhere. Credit unions, as not-for-profits, work with other credit unions and do what's known as cooperative banking or shared branching, so that you can go into one credit union and bank with them as though you were with us. We do have a little quick video that we created a couple weeks ago, so you'll be able to see this, where we have some of our current students that have a College Life account talking about our account, so that you can learn a little bit more about it. You can watch that on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/myhuecu. That's all that we're going to cover when it comes specifically to our College Life account. We wanted you just to have that information. And as you are, if you don't already have your own account separate, maybe from your family or independent from other caretakers that you may have in your house, it may be a conversation to have with others, or to just decide on your own, you know what, it may be time for me to venture out and open an account on my own. There are many different tools on our website. We have a blog.huecu.org, where you can get information. We have different articles that come up out at least 3 a week. We also, on our social media channels, are very active and will provide that information for you as well. But if you're not quite sure, if you're not sure if you need your own account, at some point you may decide that you do have needs, or you may have questions about these. So we encourage you to contact us. As Sarah said, we are a resource for the Harvard community, which includes all of you, and those in your households as well. You do not need to be a member. If you ever have questions, let's say you get a credit card offer in the mail, or you get an email, you're not quite sure what it means, feel free to reach out to us. We have many students that would walk into our branches. Now our branch is still open in Harvard Square, but obviously with many of our students not yet on campus, or some opting not to come on campus for the fall, we do realize that that may not be as accessible at the moment, but you're still welcome to come in if you are in the area, or just to contact us online or via our social channels if you have any questions. We also have a student advisory council that is made up of students at the college. So be on the lookout for that if you're ever interested in joining and becoming a part of the student advisory council, which we essentially go to you, the students, and we find out what are your needs, how can we better serve you? And that's how we put together our program during winter session, where we have experts come out and talk to our students about all the different things that are of interest to you at that point in your college careers. We know that there's a lot of information out there, and that it can always sometimes be overwhelming and confusing. So we thank you for joining us today, and we're going to open it up for any questions that you have, any questions either regarding tips that you want from us. And if there's anything that we could do, just know that we're here. And congratulations again for joining, and thank you so much for joining the session. But we will open it up for questions. Okay. And I did notice, thank you, Sarah, for adjusting that. So it is harvard.edu. Okay. So I do see a question here. Sarah, I'll probably have you maybe answer this one. So we had someone ask, what happens after I graduate if I open a College Life account?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. So here at Harvard, at Harvard University Employees Credit Union. The good news is that once you're a member with us at the credit union, you're a member for life, no matter if your relationship with Harvard changes. So we would actually switch you from a college life account to a regular checking account, and you would have the opportunity to kind of a whole new world is opened up to you to receive some of the alumni perks that we do have for our alumni from Harvard College. And that's something to really look forward to. And you'd still be able to keep your accounts with us. And like we said, we have mobile online banking. So if you moved across the world, you'd still have access to all of your funds with the Harvard Credit Union.
Thank you, Sarah. Another question that came in was regarding any tips that we have for students that may not have a lot of money, and how much can you put us, how much is too little to put aside for savings? So I think what they're asking is there an amount that we would say, no, don't bother saving?
Never. Even if you can save just $5 from every paycheck or just a few dollars from every paycheck, that still adds up over time. And I think that that's something that's really important to think about when you're kind of going at this as a new saver. So always save money if you can, even if it's just a few dollars, $10, $20 here and there, because saving that money now will help you moving forward and going into the future.
Thank you, Sarah. Another question that came in, if I won't have a job, how do I get a credit card? So I'll take this. So you can get a credit card by applying. It will depend on your age. If you may not be able to apply for it on your own if you don't have sufficient income, so you may need a cosigner. It really will depend. But you can apply for us. I know for us, because we are Harvard University Employees Credit Union, we're created for the Harvard community and specifically our students. We do have student credit cards that may be sometimes a little bit easier to get than other financial institutions. So as you're shopping around, I do recommend that you consider us as well. However, so applying for the card, you don't need a job to apply for the card. Your limit, the amount that they might lend to you, may be a little bit lower because you don't have a job. I would recommend, though, that if you don't have a job, that you have sufficient savings, or that you just charge maybe $10 on your card a month and then pay that off in full every month. As Sarah mentioned, you'd only need, we try to keep your balance less than 30% of your limit, but you also don't have to keep a balance. You can charge $10, which might be 1% of your balance, and pay it off in full. So the process of applying, you can just apply on our website. You can apply on other lenders. I would recommend, if you are going to apply for a credit card, to do so if you're going to apply for multiple companies during a 2-week period, because if you apply more outside of that window, it can negatively impact your credit score. And if you're not quite sure if you have a credit score, that's okay. One of the services that we offer is through GreenPath Financial Wellness. They are accredited credit counselors, and I will include their information for you, but you can get their information at huecu.org/greenpath, and they can pull your credit report for free and walk you through what to do to build your credit, build your credit. And another question that came in, does GreenPath pulling my credit report impact my score? It will not. So because GreenPath are accredited credit counselors and they're doing it for educational purposes, it will not impact your credit score in a negative way. That's a really good question. Well, we thank you all for joining us today. I don't see any additional questions. We will be always available for you. So if you have any questions, just keep our information, huecu@harvard.edu, and we'll be able to get those emails and get back to you. Thank you so much, and congratulations again on starting at Harvard University and specifically at the college. And I'll turn it over to Sarah in case there's any closing comments.
Just echoing all of those from you, Migdalia. Really thankful that you all joined us today, and good luck getting started at Harvard. It will be a great time for you all, and we are here to help in any way we can. Hope you'll have a wonderful evening.